I'm experiencing something new, like at the beginning of a conversation like this. It's like I just feel like in immediacy with you, and I don't know what we're going to speak about, or even that part of me that normally wants to make it understandable for the listener doesn't feel here in the same way, and that might come online, but
It feels like this is a kind of place that I can really like be genuine from.
mm,
And it's quite a struggle with this practice because it makes me so aware of when I'm not genuine, and it's so painful.
for me, the dilemma right now is more like I feel such a presence being here with you, and I'm not sure that's like easy for those witnessing to experience that with me or with us. I get a memory of one time I went into a workshop with my daughter when she was, I think she was only 2.5 at the time, so she was really grabbing my attention. And then when I was kind of by the group, kind of yeah, just being there, and because I wasn't quite in the context with everyone, and I was focused on my daughter, looking at people connecting, it just looked like very slow, mundane talking. It was so weird to feel completely outside the context, even though I'm so used to being in it. So, like right now, it feels rich to be with you, and there is a sense of wanting to invite the listener in as well.
Mm. I think for me, inviting the listener in could be to use this as a starting point, but to really verbalize kind of the pros, like all this experience that we both have with this practice, like how it plays into this moment somehow.
Mm.
I think
One
from
thing, yeah,
mm,
you go first.
yeah, I think the kind of first thing that really come to me when I say that is like um, how much I navigate these spaces according to what a very very young part inside me, how that is doing. It's like a quite central exploration for me with this practice. Um, like a sense of a very young place in my chest. And if I'm playing a role, it hurts for this place every time, and it hurts badly.
Mm. Yeah, the first part of my experience is just I think I notice the kind of the mode I was in, which feels okay. It's like, um, you know, wanting to welcome you in, wanting to be mindful of the listener, create something that seems meaningful and do that from presence. But even that feels like less, you know, that's dropped away and now I feel a bit more, I'm like in the unknown and it's like I'm a bit more blank inside, but but the blank has a richness to it. And then when you shared your experience now, and especially about that feeling in your chest or that part of you that you become more aware of, it's like that impacts me more when I'm in this state.
Mm.
It started to thicken like my sensations in my body, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know if I track that way, but I it feels kind of nourishing to care about a part of me that is, yeah, feels more young.
Yeah, it feels like one of the puzzle pieces of my exploration. And it seems like all of these puzzle pieces I have, they kind of paint a picture of, yeah, what is connection and how can I be in it 100% without
Mm.
hurting and without being confused and disoriented. And it goes so deep for me, this question. Like, I almost hold this belief like the world will never be a good place if we're not able to kind of get each other at a deeper level than what we do, or what I do at least today. Like, can we even create a good harmonious world if we don't see each other and is able to really show up with who we are?
Yeah, as you started to share, I felt this aliveness and intimacy, and it was like felt really, uh, yeah, like, like it something more than normal experience. I don't want to make it sound, I don't know, don't want to exaggerate it. But it's the sense of intimacy with you, and then I was like, oh yeah, what is that? And I think it was when you were describing what you were doing, like that you're I mean, what I heard was like really trying to see what's happening in you, like right now, being with me, and that you're really looking. But because you've done that a lot, you know that, well, you've discovered that if you don't stay aligned in some way, it's going to actually be painful for you if you're not true to. And when I heard you doing that, because it felt so familiar and aligned for me, that's what seemed to trigger or ignite this kind of aliveness. And that makes me realize that actually, even with you, who I've done this practice with and been around for so long, there's a way, my normal way of being in connection almost assumes you are not really with me, or maybe are even a little, I don't know if suspicious, but like, and I don't think I think this would be for many people like a default setting of like try to be independent and not kind of get in the way of other people almost, or it's like a
Mm.
subtle, and I can still have connection within that, but it's got this, yes, subtle protection in it.
Yeah, that resonates a lot. I think my expression of that in everyday life is almost like I can tell I don't really want this what I have most of the time, but I somehow keep assuming that the other person, like, this is perfect for everyone else.
Mm.
There's this subtle like, what are we doing? What are
And
we?
is
Yeah,
mm.
yeah,
and,
good.
and and is that when you're with people kind of in normal conversation, there's that question?
Yeah, and it's always there.
Yeah, what's that like now?
You have that question, or
Yeah, is it here now, or is there a
it's a lot less here for sure. Yeah, there's it's yeah, it's a lot less here. And somehow that's where I come back to this kind of recurring question, like what is it supposed to be like?
mm. Yeah, when you say it, it helps me see that there are often like words that are used like in transformational spaces that it's like it seems like a word that everyone's understanding, and it's like everyone's talking about it. In a way, to me, it seems like we all understand what that means. And one word I'm thinking now is like someone sharing that they feel fragmented,
Hmm.
or oh yeah, people can be fragmented. But then I often like when I really look at these like terms, sometimes I'm like, I don't really know what that experience is. If I'm like really directly like, what's the direct experience of fragmentation? But when you just shared, then I did get this sense of like when you're in normal conversation, if there's not a kind of intention or a space to really be aware of your whole body and being, there's actually like, and if you don't know what parts of your body are feeling like, then that in its that's actually a fragmentation.
Mm.
It's like if most of your attention's in the contents of the words that you're saying or the others saying, and it's not in experiencing your whole body, surely that's only a fragment of what's there. And so no wonder there's a part of you being like, if that's somewhat close to what you like, what's going on here? Something doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah, yeah, and the body is part of that for sure, like including the embodied experience. And I also had this sense like the last week, literally, that another aspect of it is like it's not embodied, it's kind of like experiential. It's like the impact. Oh, it's so hard to explain it. Mm, almost like our connection right now for me is so much just the experience that I have if I check what's happening inside me. And it just seemed like there is a very big shared space there. And it even feels like I can even just communicate there. Like if I let my awareness, if I go into my experience, my awareness experience, and I change something there, it just seems more and more often like the other person feels it, and that's another layer of communication. And I feel so at home when I start exploring this the last week, like
Mm.
almost like this is what for me almost like communication is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems paradoxical when you say it, but I wonder if that's how you experience it, because I think there's a lot of kind of before I was doing the practice, like ideas that I was trying to follow, like in connection, you try to really listen to other people, or you don't focus on yourself, or like these kind of ideas, and they're kind of useful maybe, but it seems what you're saying is like if you really be pay attention to your own experience, you actually find you can feel the connection with me more from your own experience.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is like before I think I always felt it, or for a long time through this practice. But I kind of just like looked at it like a static picture. Like this is the connection. And the new thing for me is like I can change, like I can go into it and change parts of it. Like I can change my awareness and it changes the connection.
Yeah,
And and I feel so, yeah, it feels so meaningful somehow
yeah,
because it's so direct. It's so like just direct experience shared. That's how it feels at least.
yeah. And I think people who've done a lot of meditation, or see if they've done transformational connection, they'll get this. But there's something that happens, it seems, when we pay attention to our direct experience, or like the felt sense of what's here, how different that is to our normal kind of being in thoughts. And when you go into that direct experience of like, oh yeah, what is it that I'm really feeling now with you? There's almost like it's almost like a slightly different dimension of what's here.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you just feel so at home there, but you're also discovering that when you're there, if you do something on that level, like on the level of sensation, or it actually has a direct impact on the other on that kind of level in them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a more real exchange going on that level actually all the time.
Yeah, that's really how it feels. And it's been such a journey because I remember when I started this practice, it felt like less worth this level of experience. Like the verbal is the real connection. That's what my mind kept telling me because that's what we're doing all the time. So, I kept devaluing a really big part of my kind of deeper experience, because it doesn't seem to have a place somehow
Yeah.
in,
Mm.
in society, these kind of deeper experiences, at least not in the kind of, yeah, more common circles.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me that there is a yearning and a hunger for it. Like, I think even people drinking alcohol is like a way it kind of puts you more in touch with an uninhibited bodily experience, but it obviously has cost to it. But the big rise in psychedelics as well that's happening, and your transformational practices, like there is a hunger to feel this being level. I think that's, but there's something I think we've both experienced in our journey, we've explored a lot, is that when we did come into the being level, it wasn't just this rich experience we're having, discovering like these subtle ways we're impacting each other. There was actually, like for me, a lot of loneliness and resistance and strange beliefs I had about myself and others, that and ways I was defensive like or misunderstood people that have been not easy to navigate. And but yeah, I'm glad I've done it, but it wasn't it wasn't like for the faint-hearted, that journey.
What's the loneliness?
Well, that's so when I first started being present, I did have early experiences of like, whoa, like when I'm really present, I'm like dissolving, and there you are, and I'm just kind of dissolving, and it feels really rich, and it's like having the experience of being high without the substance effect, and I'm just
Mm.
with a person, and I'm feeling like I'm learning about other human beings and feeling intimacy with them. This is like so good. But then what I started to realize is like, oh, there are emotions in me. And I kind of knew this theoretically before as well, but I started to feel it for real. Like, oh, actually, as I start to become present with people, I start to feel things that I don't normally feel, but they always feel familiar. So what I started to feel was loneliness quite strongly. So there I am in deeper connection with someone. But then what comes up is a sense of loneliness, and that's really hard to feel at first. Like I wasn't used to that, so there was like resistance to it, and I didn't want it. I had an identity of not being a lonely person, and there was lots of associations with that. My kind of body mind had learned to kind of resist. So I took it was like feeling both the loneliness and the resistance to it was coming up. And it's like I couldn't solve that. Just, I had the theory that you should accept your emotions, and I had experiences of that being rich, but I couldn't just make it happen theoretically. And only it kind of transformed by being willing to be in connection with people. And yeah, I wonder if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I was asking. Yeah, I was asking because like I tried to map if it relates to my own loneliness that I had.
Mm, mm.
And yeah, that seems like that was my shift somehow this week. Like this sense, like I could all quite for quite a while feel quite deeply into like what's here, but I wasn't somehow able to communicate, or like it felt static. Like I could look at a picture of what was here, but there was this kind of always this longing and yearning for I think connection for me is when something happens. Like there is movement in connection, and I couldn't find that movement in these deeper places. And that seems to be what's shifting for me now. Like I can create impact that you know, or like that will be felt, and then it really feels to me like connection, and then my loneliness is going away, or this kind of nagging feeling like something is missing.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's the irony for me. Is like at first I learn that I'm resisting a feeling like loneliness. And then now when you spoke about your own, it feels so rich to experience it or to open to it. It feels like getting access to something more fundamental. And actually, it makes me realize that around you, there's this subtle, when I'm around you, there's this subtle feeling I get that reminds me of like when I was a child and I was like, I don't know, I had to visit my grand's and there was like, it seemed like there was nothing to do and I was spending hours kind of trying to entertain myself. There was an atmosphere of what I probably would have called boredom. But sometimes I think I can feel something like that flavor being around you, but then very subtle. And then now, as I allow that just becomes something really rich. It's like loneliness seems to become like, oh yeah, of course, as a being, we're fundamentally alone in some way. Yeah, what happens when you hear that?
It was very still when you said fundamentally alone. There is this voice that wants to say that I don't feel fundamentally alone. And then at the same time, there's another voice that doesn't want to say it. Almost like that would leave you alone if I said it.
Hmm. Yeah, I think what I continually find is if I experience, I mean, I don't feel it so much these days, a sense of loneliness, more remembering it, but I'm remembering the difficulty in accepting it and even sharing it with others. That's what I'm experiencing. But then it always seems in accepting it and then being able to share it, it always becomes something surprising. Like loneliness becomes a sense of deep connectedness.
Mm. Yeah. I think somehow, yeah, I always feel like I become very, all what we just talked about connection, it it seems like it's so important for me because like, oh, how I felt connection before, like as a teenager, as a child. And yeah, somehow I've had a sense, I had so much sense of knowing somehow my own sense of truth and place in this world as a child and as a teenager. And then so much of my journey with this practice is to try to kind of find back to that.
Mm.
And this kind of deep sense of belonging was a very big part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that a lot in this practice. It seems almost like a second innocence or something emerges that seems similar to the more childlike belonging, but but you do have a bit of the adult that can kind of manage the world better than a child can, but regain that innocence.
Mm. Yeah, that's the thing. It got lost when I had to kind of take care of myself,
Yeah.
go into the world and get a job and yeah.
Yeah, no wonder in my experience, I just get more and more respect for those kind of things because like, becoming more present and exploring kind of the intricacies of what it is to be a human, and it's like just gives me so much love and respect for how people can, yeah, take more responsibility and hold these complex jobs and hold a family and look after their health and do it all imperfectly. But it's so meaningful to be able to see that there's a way to get lost in that or overwhelmed by that kind of adult journey, and this second innocence seems like a good like some kind of nourishment to ease that.
Yeah, yeah, but it's so, I mean, right now this is circ transformational connection is kind of how I make a living. And so it's quite the fight between the inner and the outer world, like, or in me, is quite small. But it's so, I cannot imagine I wouldn't be able
Mm.
to feel this part so deeply and still do a normal job. Like I don't understand how it's possible.
Yeah.
And I imagine it is possible for sure.
Yeah, that kind of wakes me up to where I feel like I can have, like I just shared this respect for people who, yeah, are living their lives, and but then I have found a way to, yeah, to make my purpose exploring connection with people. I just, I, it's like it's become normal in a way for me now, but it's such a, also when I wake up to it, I feel very grateful because I can remember that stress and that sense of, does anyone really care? But I don't know. I don't know if it's like, does anyone care? It's like, can anyone even begin to care when we're all so busy and stressed trying to do everything?
Yeah.
But then what I've actually found the last few years is it feels something shifted for me where I was so into like the process of deepening and discovering these deeper emotions and these higher states and like what's really happening in connection and wanting to make connection, like conscious connection, kind of the center of like in all of my life. But there was this shift where it just started to become part of the practice or fun for me to be like writing like a social media post or trying to administer my events more skillfully or set up better agreements with people, and that actually started to have this like almost more aliveness than being in these deep explorations of you know inner trauma and spiritual awakening with people.
And I kind of imagine when you do that, I don't know, but like that it becomes also this kind of exploration of finding flow, like identifying the places of resistance and exploring them, and then you can flow.
Yeah.
At least so it becomes a rich exploration to do this kind of, instead of just like feeling the resistance and just
Yeah, plowing through.
banging, yeah, either banging against it or plowing through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a way I was always looking for like more discipline or more capacity to like achieve things and be more excellent. But I've actually found it kind of works the opposite way, that I don't know, the more things simplify and more relaxed. It's like the last few weeks I've been writing again, and I remember writing just being like a bit heavy and difficult, but I keep like almost missing appointments and like not eating lunch and stuff because I'm so engrossed and I just keep going and like it feels so alive. So it's just finding, yeah, what awakens that aliveness.
Yeah, for me, all of this points to the same, like how to live life.
Mm.
And I can feel my this innocent place that I mentioned before. I can feel it so clearly when I hear you. It feels happy.
Well, I think we'll like wrap this up soon. There's like this what comes to me as I imagine us finishing is to actually share with you experience I had this last week as well. It seems like when you describe that, kind of what that's like a new part of my experience emerges, and I'm like, oh, what does this mean? And and it's not like this is completely new to me, but it seems like I'm coming at it from a new place of like, oh, there are parts of me that's like, well, this in my body right now, like there's a slight tension holding happening in my lower belly. And even I think if I tried really hard, I could probably relax it a little bit. But actually, the truth is, I can't. Like, there's a part of me holding right now, and I can't do anything about that really. And if I'm really honoring myself, I don't even want to do anything about it. But it's quite an intense experience to be feeling that part of me's holding.
I can feel it. I have it too. I actually didn't understand if you said that this was last week or now, but at least I have it now.
It's now, yeah,
Yeah,
but
okay, cool.
the realization that parts of you
Mm.
can be like, even if you feel relaxed or want to relax, you can't. you can't actually control, that there are deeper parts that they're actually in deep tension.
I kind of imagine we would be able to relax it. The feeling I have is, yeah, like now it's changing a little. Like it's a subtle, I have to do this right. And if I just completely relaxes that like having to achieve kind of quality, I cannot fully let go of it, but at least I can tell that the tension is there. It's in that spot.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes less a sense of kind of muscular tension and more a raw sensation.
Mm.
It starts to feel more alive.
Yeah. And for I think this is the kind of having to live up to. Like this is one of the places I want to just I don't want to have this in my
Mm.
life.
You don't want a sense of having to live up to something.
Mm. I can't live up to anything.
It makes me think of surrender when you share that. Like a sense of can't live up to some kind of expectation, and wanting to align to something that does feel higher. So it doesn't feel like an expectation, but there's still like a humbling sense of moving towards something higher. I imagine that's different for you, or I wonder how that sounds to you.
I'm not sure if you're higher. But
I mean, I would say God or being feels different to having expectations from people around me to having.
yeah, yeah. And I want to meet the world from that place. And I wonder what that could look like if that was the reality. And it feels like almost like too big to ask these questions, but at the same time, it's like I cannot find other questions that feel more important. So
It seems to me, in like this kind of presence with you now, it's like it is the reality whether we resist it or not. That we are going to feel the impact of not being in the truth or following what feels most true. But then when I say that, something kind of wakes up in me of like, I don't know, it's almost like, oh, if it's not playful, then it's not the truth. Like if it's serious, then it's not the truth.
I don't feel very serious around about it somehow.
Hmm.
But yeah, but I'm very, yeah, it's really nice. I don't get to talk about this so much. And, or I don't do it at least. And I really want to talk more about these things.
Well, I'm really glad you actually we started this episode and then you were like, oh, I want to stop. I almost kind of explored that with you and wanted to make it part, but something told me no, I want to hear why you want to start again. And I'm so glad you did because it feels like we've just been here together more than we've tried to do something.
Mm.
And I like knowing that you want to have these
Mm.
kind of conversations more,
Mm.
or this talk about these topics more. Or is there any last things you want to share before we close here?
Mm. No, I think I think I'm grateful for this practice in the sense that it's so helping me in exploring these things like nothing else.
Mhm. Yeah, me too. And yeah,
Yeah,
people
and
can,
no,
yeah,
yeah, and it feels like what kind of work you and John and others have done. It's like you've taken big steps, and there's so much more for this practice to
yeah,
discover.
yeah, yeah,
And I feel very excited about that.
yeah. It's very exciting seeing people come in and innovate and yeah, question old ways we do things and we upgrade.
Mm.
And yeah, well, if people want to have these kind of explorations with you, there's plenty of options, but I'll just put that in the description so we don't need to talk shop here.
That's good.
I imagine you would prefer that.
Yeah.
Well, big love, Ronja, and yeah,
Thanks a lot.
till I see you in Oslo in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.